Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. It's the best day of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday. We have a jam-packed show. And I know I say that every single episode. And I know I say this every single episode, but this one actually is jam-packed. Obviously, a ton of news has broke, and we have some incredible guests on today. Cannot wait to get into the show to talk things transfer portal, Trevor Etienne, what he's doing, Caleb Douglas, Maxie Brown, Kamari Wilson, all of those things we're going to talk about. Coaching changes. Is there more to come? It's going to be intense. We've got, of course, Mr. 6'9", 280 pounds, Mr. David Swoderquist, ladies and gentlemen, joining the show today. And special guest, Mr. Gator Insider, Nick Delatorre, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be an absolute treat. We're blessed to have him on the show. Thank you, Nick, for coming on. How are you doing today, sir?
Yeah, Dave threatened me in the DMs, so I thought for my health and safety, it was better that I show up.
Dave, well done, sir. Well,
I was sweet about it.
I'm glad we were able to get you on here, man, and talk about it. I mean, this is honestly I would say the best time to get you on. There's plenty to talk about, plenty to go over. Look, let's just dive right into it. It's been busy, so we've got to hop into it and get discussing the transfer portal. There was a clip of you going around talking about to expect attrition. You were estimating 10 to 15 players. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I mean, like maybe 15 to 20.
50, okay, a little more. All right.
I think if you have 10, then you barely have enough room to sign your signing class and not get anyone in the portal. And you need to get multiple players in the portal at multiple positions. So it's just part of it. I mean, Florida's not going to have to worry about Graham Mertz leaving, but just look at the amount of quarterbacks that are leaving. And, of course, that's a position where there's only one ball, only one guy can play. But, yeah, you're going to have a lot of people with the transfer portal and with NIL. It's a nice, free, open market, and guys are going to leave. And some guys will be encouraged to leave. Some guys have read the writing on the wall based on being on the scout team or not getting reps in practice, not getting reps in the game, and they're just going to go find somewhere else to play.
So let's get into this because we've got the four big names that dropped today. Do kind of a quick recap. Kamari Wilson, he apparently entered into the portal, but then his father came out and said, no way, that's not happening. That was what kind of broke. Will Norman, that's been a name that's been surfacing before even today, and that seems to be confirmed. Seems like family issues, wants to get closer back to home. But explain a little bit on the Kamari Wilson situation. Is that a real thing, or should we hold off on that?
Well, you can't enter the portal until Monday. So all these guys that are saying, hey, I'm going into the portal, that's like just you're announcing. Like you've bought a plane ticket, but it doesn't take off until Monday. Kamari, I think, came in. He was the jewel of Napier's first class, a 5-star kid. And I don't think a 19-year-old kid, much like I probably wouldn't have, didn't handle not being on the travel roster for that Charlotte game. Shows up to that game late. And obviously is dealt with. So I think when you come in as a 5-star, you expect to start. People around you expect to start. When they don't see you on the field on Saturday, now you're answering questions. And that's draining mentally. That gives you anxiety. Like, what's happening? Now people think I'm a failure. And it's hard to deal with. And I think he didn't deal with it well. Like I said, I probably wouldn't have dealt with it well if I were 19 years old and a highly rated recruit, which I wasn't. But everything I've heard is that he ended up buying back in. He spent the entire season on the scout team. It's not glory. You're not going to get glorified there. You're doing a lot of dirty work. You're getting other guys ready to play a game. So you're practicing as hard as they are, and then you don't get the payoff. Then you're just on the sideline watching them work. So that's tough. But I heard that he handled it well. When it comes down to it, it's like I said before. Look at the reps. He didn't get any reps. He played in 4 games. Jordan Castell played more snaps than anybody on defense. And Bryce Thornton will probably start next to him next year. So if you're Kamari Wilson and you want to play, you've got to think, hey, I probably have to go somewhere else to do that.
So, and that thing, and when you explain it like that, and that, again, we're going to get some other names here, Max Brown, Caleb Douglas as well, that everyone's kind of panicking. And I kind of alluded to this with the NIL. We get a little closer to these players. We feel connected to them more than we ever have before, I believe. And so when you see them leave, you're like, what's going on? It's falling apart. But like you just said, well, we've all been knocking on the door as well, too, that Billy has to be aggressive in the portal. You got to make room, and this is where it starts. And again, the two names we just mentioned, Will Nomer and Kamari Wilson, really, we didn't even see them at all. So you would expect these guys coming in and hopefully some portal guys, they're going to just have to work much harder to get above that list as well. Now, let's talk about the big names here. Let's go back to this list right here. Caleb Douglas, I think that one shook people a little bit more than the Max Brown one. The Max Brown one makes sense. If you don't see that, I don't know what to do for you. But talk to me about Caleb Douglas a little bit. Did you expect this one? And if you didn't, explain to kind of everyone at home, is it okay? Should we panic a little bit? Where's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I didn't expect Douglas. I think, he started all 5 games before his injury. And if I look at Florida's roster, I said it this year, I go, on offense, there's maybe 4 players that if I'm a defensive coordinator getting ready for Florida would worry me. And 2 of them are running backs who are behind an offensive line that doesn't worry me. So you really only have to worry about Ricky Pearsall, Eugene Wilson, and Pearsall's gone. So to me, Florida needs to go and get offensive playmakers in the portal, and Caleb Douglas is a kid who played quarterback, and I think as you saw him get more used to receiver, start to get better and better, I think he's going to be a good player, and as he continues to develop, and he has a knack for making spectacular catches. So this one's a bit surprising to me, and I'd have to probably dig in, like, hey, was his injury bad the whole time, or could he have come back and played and maybe knew what he was going to do? Because if you're announcing your intentions on November 29th and the portal doesn't even open until December 4th, you've probably been thinking about this for a while. So when I look at Florida's roster for next year, guys coming back, I really just look at Trevor Etienne and Eugene Wilson as guys who are proven playmakers. And then, like, we think Aiden Mizell is good. We think Andy Jean will be good, but we haven't seen it. So proven playmakers coming back on offense, you have 2. And I think I would have put Caleb Douglas, on a fringe list there for that.
Fair enough. I think everyone kind of felt the same way on Twitter of like this one stings a little bit because, like you said, that when he was on the field, there was a lot of production there. We'll be interested to see where he ends up moving on. Again, Max Brown, that one makes sense, and I think you kind of alluded to Graham Mertz coming back. That for me was confirmation that he is coming back, especially with DJ Lagway. There's just, if he wants to play, he's got 2 years left. Look, people hate it, but it makes sense. And then good for him. I hope he's able to go find somewhere to be successful. So right now, thus far, guys that have entered into the portal, Caleb Odom, right, was the other one. And then Jonathan Odom, excuse me. And then the kicker, Adam, as well. All of those thus far, all of them have made sense. Caleb Douglas is the only one that's really kind of, that stings a little bit. Now, let's kind of, well, actually, I'll wait because we're going to do what to expect. Do you have any questions on those before we move on, Dave?
No, I mean, I just wanted to add another point. I mean, like Nick made a good point with the portal, people leaving in the portal. I mean, you're going to have to get rid of some guys to get some guys in here. I mean, when it comes to D-line, offensive line, wide receiver, that's probably where you really need to hit most of your transfer portal guys at. With Cam Jackson coming back, that helps a little bit, obviously, on that side of the football. But, I mean, you're really going to have to go O-line heavy. I think you are, just based on the fact that your O-line didn't really perform that well. And you probably got some guys leaving, too. Jordan Herman and Jadarius Perkins left earlier on in the year. So you got some spots there as well. But you also got to bring in a lot of these elite guys from this freshman class. So, obviously, hopefully some of these guys can make a good freshman impact, some of these 5-stars and these top guys. But, yeah, I mean, just when you see a lot of the attrition, especially, I mean, this is going to happen every year anyway at every school. There's going to be kids that leave and want to go somewhere else. But when you see a lot of the attrition, it's for the good better than it is for the bad. And I get a lot of messages from people freaking out, but you don't know who they're going to replace them with yet. So I wouldn't even bar anything past anything when it comes to kids leaving to the transfer portal because you have no clue who's going to come in here. So that's all I wanted to add.
And we got to address the elephant in the room.
Tough.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's tough with the transfer portal, though. So, like, I think Kingsley Aguakin will declare for the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if Micah Mazuka does. And you can get interior offensive linemen, but, like, elite tackles go to elite programs, play for 3 seasons, and then go to the NFL. So, like, when you go portal shopping, you're at Dollar Tree. You're not, at Neiman Marcus looking for offensive tackles. I think like Michael Tarquin, who most Florida fans were probably like, okay, that's fine. When he transferred, he was probably one of the best tackles available, and he goes and he starts at USC. So the other thing that I would say to fans too is like, just know that you're not going and shopping at some, nice boutique. You're shopping at whatever's there on the shelf, and it might take a lot of NIL money. Some of these guys don't know who Florida is. If they're 20 years old, they were 5 the last time Florida won an SEC championship. They don't remember the Florida that we remember. They don't know that Florida. So you're not, like we always say, the logo holds weight. I'm like, well, not for a 19-year-old kid who was in diapers the last time Florida was winning championships.
It says slightly used next to their name on Facebook Marketplace, is what you're telling me.
Which makes Jordan C even more important, right?
Yeah.
So
but then again, I'm also not like a big guy that's like going to put all my chips in on a freshman offensive tackle coming in and starting right away. And everyone throws names at me, and I'm like, okay, cool. And there's exceptions to the rule, and you're throwing like the exceptions at me. And maybe Jordan Seaton can come in and play right away, but like most offensive linemen aren't able to come in right away and play.
Be impactful. I was just talking about that today, that typically a great offensive lineman, it's that second and third year where they really shine, right? There's maybe, I would even say this year from the class, I think Francis, who went to Miami, he started, but was he an elite offensive lineman? But he was impactful. Bama's got all of them, I think. Every freshman that was impactful is all playing on Alabama this year. But real quick, though, we've got almost over 700 people in here. Be sure, guys, to smash the like button and subscribe. Got Nick Del Toro with us here from On3. But let's address the elephant in the room. Obviously, a lot of noise is going on with Trevor Etienne. Can you confirm what you're hearing, just where things are at with that noise of him, having interest at least in the portal? Is there some real smoke there, or is that just Twitter getting rowdy?
Well, Twitter's going to be rowdy. I finished my 11th season at Florida. If I know anything, Florida Twitter is going to get rowdy. But I think there's smoke there, and I think there's concern. Billy and Trevor met on Tuesday. Billy's doing exit meetings, and they spoke. But there's real concern there. And I think the concern is Trevor's a 3-year player. I think he's going to be in the draft after next year. And do you want to win? Is Florida prepared to win an SEC championship next year? I don't think so. You'd have to have some really great impact from the transfer portal come in and have some things break your way. So there's going to be teams. I think you're naive if you think tampering is not happening and teams aren't talking to Trevor Etienne and saying, hey, man, we can get you behind a better offensive line. You can run for more yards on less carries. And here's what we can do for you with NIL. So, and that's going to happen. That's not going to be just Trevor Etienne specific. Anytime you have good players on a bad team or at least a bad record, other teams are going to come calling, and they're not going to wait until you're in the portal to talk to you.
That's brutal. And like right now we're the farm system. It seems like, right?
You don't want to be AAA.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're sitting at right now. Well, appreciate the clarification on that. I mean, wasn't great news. You didn't make me feel any better, so thanks for that too, Nick. But let's move on to the coaching changes. So obviously, 2 coaches were fired on Monday, which set the world on fire. People had their opinions on whether or not they liked it or not, but I think things have settled down and cooled down thus far. With Cam Jackson announcing his return, which is gonna be great to pick his ear a little bit, makes you kind of wonder, right? Maybe the fire wasn't as chaotic as it appeared at one time. Talk to me about these 2 fires, your thoughts on it, and then obviously the noise of, is there anyone next?
Yeah, I think what this tells me is Billy's going to be on a relative hot seat next year. And I think you probably need to win 7 games, 8 games. You need to look better. You need to be disciplined. You need to show improvement. Because I don't think you showed better discipline this year or improvement this year. And maybe stuff is better behind the scenes that we don't know about. But from what we see, we didn't see improvement. That's kind of what I asked him after the FSU game. But I think what this tells me is Billy tells Austin Armstrong, hey, I'm in with you. You're my guy. You're my defensive coordinator. You didn't hire any of these guys. You need to go and make your own staff. And I think this is what it must be, is that Austin Armstrong is saying, okay, I need to get my staff, my guys in, everyone that's bought in. And I think if you look at Florida's defense, I don't know that I mean, the pass rush wasn't there. You're not finishing. Also, that hurts the secondary. So it was surprising to me the timing, because Chaos's contract runs out in June, or at the end of January. Corey Raymond was extended, to get a title. He wasn't coaching the safeties, but was given a title and a raise as secondary coach. So Chaos's was surprising to me, just because you could have just said, "Hey, we're not going to extend you. You can look for other jobs," and had him through signing day. And then Corey Raymond, I think the college football is changing a lot, and I think he kind of got a shock last year during the Cormani recruitment, because he's been such a good recruiter, and it's about building relationships and things like that. And now you're throwing in money into that, and the relationship with money might be more than the relationship you have with the school or a coaching staff, and that whole thing is changing. I think he would be a guy that would jump at the opportunity to go to the NFL. I don't think it's ever been worse to be a college football coach, with just like the calendar that you have. You're recruiting juniors and seniors in high school. You're re-recruiting the guys that you won to get to your school, having to re-recruit them every year. And then you're keeping an eye on every team you're playing. You turn on the TV and you're watching a game when you get home on Saturday night, and you're like, okay, well, if that guy goes in the portal, we'd want him, and I have to start recruiting him. They really just don't have a break right now. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of elite coaches jump to the NFL if given the opportunity.
That's something too that I think people, us college and fans in general, right? The portal's new to us, which it has us feeling a certain way, but the coaches are having to adapt. And I think that's also where the evolution of coaching is going to change, and what coaches we go after. Look, I know Armstrong's young. I know Billy Napier's staff is young, but you almost have to go after young staff, because these older guys that have been doing it a certain way for the last 20 years may not evolve, right? Saban has showed a little bit not to adjust, too much. Dabo is kind of been vocal about not wanting to change too much. We look at Roy Williams from North Carolina and Coach K. They kind of saw the writing on the wall, like, my time is up here. Not because I can't coach, not because I can't teach these kids. I don't have just the will-how to keep up with what's happening right now. And I think that's what we have to understand and kind of pay attention to, that Billy walked into not just what we call a dumpster fire from a sense of what was left of him, but just the entire world of college football has flipped on its head in the last 2 years. And this isn't me making excuses or trying to pump any sunshine. That's just facts. That's kind of where we're at. But I do want to ask you, because everyone's kind of wondering what's going to happen with offensive coordinator, what's going to happen with the O-line coaches. Mark Hawk was getting a lot of heat. Do you have any thoughts or takes on those coaches, of whether or not they will be staying, or that or that you believe they should be staying?
Yeah, I won't say that I know anything. First off, with the strength coach, like, if Urban Meyer came back and got the job at New Mexico, Mickey Marotti would leave Ohio State and go to New Mexico. Like, that's the relationship head coaches have with their strength coaches. Because of the NCAA rules, you can't be around, the 10 position coaches can't be around in coaching. Your strength coach is essentially your head coach during the offseason. They have to hand their team over to this person, and say, hey, it's yours, and you run the program. So it's I mean, unless it's like Mike Kent with McElwain, and I'm running into Florida football players at Gainesville Health and Fitness wondering, like, what are you guys doing here? Then you're not going to see a lot of changes with strength coaches. They kind of stay with who they're with, and you see, like, Jeff Dillman left when Muschamp left, and follows him around. And Scott Cochran, was crazy to watch him leave Alabama, but it makes sense when it's Kirby moving. So I wouldn't expect Mark Hockey to leave. I think the only issue I've had with Florida's injuries and fans' points of injuries. Listen, ACLs are going to happen. You see that at every level, every sport. Guys are going to get rolled up on. You're going to get sprained ankles. You're going to get broken bones. We're not playing badminton. It's football. It's a rough sport. How many shoulder injuries they had, I think that would be concerning to me. And if I'm Mark Hockey, I would just look into, okay, well, what did we do last year that maybe made us more susceptible? What are some other exercises, lifts we can do to strengthen? Your shoulders have so many tiny little ligaments that connect the bicep into the shoulder that can rip and tear. There's also, with an emphasis on not targeting and not leading with the helmet, you're throwing your shoulder into guys more. It can cause dislocation. A dislocation can tear a ligament like that, and there's nothing much you can do about that as a strength coach. So I wouldn't expect Billy to make a change there. Like, that's his guy. That's his guy, and that's the relationship with head coaches and strength coaches.
That's interesting. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Now, I want to ask you a question. Does the strength coach, remember that little hashtag where it says hit somebody? Does the strength coach teach when a defenseless wide receiver is right there and you just try to take him out by the name of Luther Burden and you're just right there to deliver the hit and he just runs you over? Does Graham Mertz running through 2 defenders make him stronger than a safety back there? That's my big thing is, like, I think that the lackluster tackling and then the nonchalant, like, I don't want to point fingers at anybody, but when they get back into the backfield, you see lousy tackling everywhere, and I think that has a little bit to do with strength and conditioning. Not everything. There's technique. There's coaches that are supposed to put them in the right spots and teach them how to tackle as well and push through those guys. But man, when you have a Florida State player that's an edge guy that's way smaller than an offensive lineman that's 330 pounds and he pushes him into his own quarterback, that says a little bit of something to me.
That's impressive. That's one you put on. That's going to be tough for Damian George because Jared Verse is going to be a first-round pick, and you're going to see that a lot on draft night. So that's going to be tough. You never want to get picked up and sack your own quarterback.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention the name and be mean, but you did. So
you're going to see it a lot on draft night because Jared Verse is a great player.
It's interesting. Again, I didn't realize just that transition where, in a weird way, like you said, Mark Hawk is an extension of the head coach. That's his guy. That's his right-hand man. And look, I've met Mark Hawk a couple of times. I think he's a great dude. My questions and my reasoning were, we've heard some things come out of the camp of guys not being as strong as they once were. But I also heard from our local station here this morning, 1010XL, where Mark Hawk is considered one of the top strength and conditioning coaches. He's top paid wise too, but actually ranks fairly high. And I was wondering where this ranking comes from because
I don't know how you rank them. Yeah.
I was trying to find. I looked all over to confirm what they were saying because I'm like, how do we rank this? But he is the 4th highest paid strength and conditioning coach, which I don't know if that has anything to do with either. But very interesting. Now, I think the next big one, if he's not going anywhere, which people are going to be a riot about, is offensive line. Is that something that you would consider moving on? I know I did see on actually in a couple articles from you guys that Rob Sales was doing some in-house visits with Fletcher Westphal. So I would imagine if he was going anywhere, he wouldn't be doing any house visits. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Mark Hawk and Rob Sale are Billy's guys on this roster. My question is, like, Rob Sale makes $1 million to be the offensive coordinator who doesn't call plays and coaches half of the position. And if you're going to hire an offensive play caller, you're going to need another coach. And right now you don't have another offensive spot open unless you want to make, Russ Callaway, give him a play caller title or give him those duties. Players say it that they like having 2 offensive line coaches. Recruits say that they like it. We're not seeing the benefit of it on the field. And I'd even argue that outside of Osiris Torrance, Anthony Richardson made Florida's offensive line look good because of his mobility. And he was so hard to sack because you didn't lose a ton. You lose Ethan White. And obviously you did lose a ton. You lost a consensus All-American. That was that. So you lost a bunch there. But I'd argue that, Micah Mazuka and Ethan White probably play similar. Austin Barber, I don't think he played as well this year at left tackle as he did the previous year at right tackle. So, like, what benefit are you getting out of having the 2 offensive line coaches? But if Billy does his, look in the mirror and his self-evaluation, the offense wasn't the problem the last 6 weeks. It was not the offense that, was hurting Florida or the reason you could point to a loss and say, the offense should have done that. Now, against Missouri, the defense comes out and gets a bunch of stops. The offense doesn't capitalize on it. They come out against Florida State with their hair on fire. Florida State, 4 possessions. I think they ran like 12 plays and had -2 points on offense. And Florida's not able to get more than 12. And you lose the middle 8 and end up losing the game. So I'm sitting here now, November 29th. I think a month ago, I would have told you, Yeah, I think when Billy looks at this thing, he'll say, Florida will be a better program if I am able to be more hands on with different things. I'm not spending all of my time coaching the quarterbacks in practice and then thinking of play calls. And then on game day, I'm able to go and talk and do a bunch of other things. Because when they're on defense, like he's watching, but now it's third down. He's like, okay, now I'm back into my play. And like, okay, well, then the play keeps going. I just think he'd be better served. Florida would be better served if he was more disconnected from play calling and be able to be more of a CEO. But I
So
don't know that that'll happen. And if you don't get rid of one of the offensive line coaches, make that staff readjustment, then I don't think you have room to add another offensive coach.
So if Twitter wasn't on fire before this, it will be after this, because from what you're telling me, you think you're thinking this offensive side of things are going to stay somewhat similar to what they are now. Nick, are you
I don't know that they will. I don't know that Rob Sale was extended yet. Probably need to put in a FOIA request for that. But his contract, his original contract that he signed, only runs through January 31st of this January 31st, and that's the same with Stapleton. And all of the guys that were on Billy's inaugural class or coaching staff.
I just don't see, if you fire these two coaches here, that if you plan to fire them, why you just wouldn't do it all at the same time, right? I think is the big question there. But do you so
also you're like sprinting to signing day? Who you? Everyone wants all these coaches fired. And it's like, fire these coaches. Keep recruiting though. Who's going out to recruit?
I agree. Look,
if you're firing all the coaches right now.
It's mayhem. I agree with you. It's everyone wants results, but then as soon as the fire happened, they go, "What about the recruits?" It's like, yeah, it's what's the world we live in, guys. It's a balance. It's tough. It's a tough job. I'm stressed trying to think about what he could do. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
That's me too. I like battle in my brain of like, well, Billy Napier could do this, but then this is going to happen, and then if this happens, then this will happen, and I just keep going back and forth. You put yourself, like, Billy Napier's really a rock in a hard place right now. Like, he really is. So it's like, I mean, I was on the radio earlier today and I said that Billy Napier, like, he really has to be very, very careful with his moves now, because you could either lose a commit, a really big elite commit. And obviously the defensive line guy, we were all worried that LJ McCray, somebody would leave. And right now they still say that they're locked in, but kids say things and change their mind. But then, if you don't fire anybody, then, okay, well, does this improve? Or do you move people around? Or, there's so many logistics that you could think of, and so many different scenarios. And it's just like, either way, like, somebody's going to be upset. Is it the fans? Well, you shouldn't worry about the fans. You should worry about keeping some kids in here, getting some other kids in here from the port. That would be me. But like, at the same time, like, it's just such a hard spot for Billy Napier to be in right now. So, I don't get paid $7 million a year to figure those situations out, so I'm just going to sit back and watch.
I think Billy Napier, when he said, like, it's not my job to tell the fans, when I forget, I think it was after the Arkansas game. I think he doesn't worry about the fans because the fans won't be saying anything if he's winning football games. The problem is he's just not winning football games. So I think he's putting his focus in, how do we win games? Because they won't be saying these mean things anymore if we're going 11-1.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, he should have thought about 4th and 17 and that Trevor Etienne getting in bounds, and maybe beating Arkansas with that field goal. But we're here.
Wow. I was so close to Ember's gift card, Dave. I was so close to it.
Would have totally sent it to you too.
Boys and girls, we got over 950 people in here tonight. Be sure to, again, smash the like button, subscribe. We're on the way to 19,000 subs. Hanging out with Mr. Nick Del Toro from On3. And again, we got Cam Jackson coming up. Nick, can you tell the fans, what should we expect? We kind of already, indulged into it a little bit, but let's talk about expectations for the portal. Maybe some names that you're feeling that, hey, don't be shocked if this person goes in. I'll be shocked if X goes in. And then also, too, recruiting a little bit. We're coming up to signing day. We've kind of we've cooled down a little bit. There's plenty of room left, I believe, to sign a few more. Miami just jumped us in the 247 ratings to put them in the top 5 class. Now they've got 19 3-stars. Don't want to finish behind them, even if it's by half a point. Just go sign anybody at this point. But kind of give us your overall thoughts and takes on what to expect in the future.
In terms of like losing guys, I don't know. I mean, obviously we talked about Trevor Etienne. That one would be a gut punch. I think Jason Marshall's a guy who I don't know that he would transfer. Maybe he would now that Corey Raymond's gone, but he's a guy who has had his eyes set on the NFL. Now, I don't think if you're looking at a stock report, this is like Life Wallet. It has not done well since the beginning of the season. So I don't know that you're buying or selling your stock right now and heading to the NFL.
Oh man,
But
on
like
the
other
rise.
guys that I think that's I don't know that any of the other names. I put a story out. I think it was Sunday or Monday, naming some guys, but like Jack Miller, I think he'll graduate and leave. That's just another quarterback situation. Like Graham Mertz is going to come back because I think Graham Mertz is probably like quarterback 10 in the draft. It's just a ridiculous draft class, and you saw people trying to. Anthony Richardson was like, no, we're cashing our chips in on this one season because next year is crazy. Other guys like Jamarcus Weston and Savai, like guys who clearly like, hey, if I want to play football, I need to go somewhere else. I'd be interested to see what Derek Wingo does. He's a guy who his body's just like fails him every year at some point. Like he has another shoulder injury. Do you want to come back for your last year? I think he's supposed to graduate after the spring. Do you want to come back for your last year? Be that captain, that leader in the locker room, a glue guy, and play the 12 to 14, 15 snaps that you play? Or do you want to go to a smaller school and be a starter and play 30, 40 snaps, 50 snaps a game? If you think, hey, I'm probably not going to be in the NFL, do I want to spend my last year of football being captain, locker room guy, or go and be a starter at a smaller school? And then, guys like a Ty Bowman, I think he would still have eligibility because he was a JUCO transfer to hit the portal. So there's just guys that I think Ethan Pouncey, who haven't played much that might, use that portal.
And look, all those I think you said those are expected and would make sense. Derek Wingo, I think you nailed on the head as a glue guy. I love him. Met him at one of the events. Great personality. We've seen a lot of him in the clips over the last few weeks. Just the energy that he brings. I think you'd be well suited if he was able to stay and be a captain and a team lead. But obviously, it's what's best for him. And that's another thing with the portal. I think where a lot of the older fans who go back and it's like, this is Gator, this is Florida football, this is the what we expect. It's not about the logo anymore. It's about me. Not me, right, as me personally, but the player. It's about the individual. And I think you kind of nailed on the head, too, with these 18-year-olds. They don't remember what the logo means. And I think, it sucks. We talked about it when it happened with NIL, that the old way of college football will go away. The traditions would go away. They're always going to be there, but it's not going to, it's never going to feel the way that it did 10 years ago. And that's just is what it's nobody's fault. It's just the world we live in. Look, there's pros and cons to everything that we do. And this, I would say, is probably one of the cons of the transition into NIL and the portal.
Yeah, and what's funny is like a lot of people will talk about Urban coming back, whether not even coming to Florida, but just like going to a certain school, and then you look at watching Swamp Kings and you're like, well, could he have treated the players like that now with the transfer portal the way that it is? There's no way. And like, to me, I don't even think Urban would want to come back in this environment if you were to ask me.
Brandon Spikes would not have been a Gator if the transfer portal was a thing. You watch Swamp Kings, and he comes in, he's like, they've got us training for war. Like, Brandon Spikes would have looked around and been like, no, I'm going to go somewhere else that isn't boot camp. I don't know that you can. I mean, you certainly can't talk to people that way anymore. You're almost in like an NFL situation. There was a great story. I think it was Vernon Carey was in his 11th year with the Dolphins, left tackle, and built into his contract, he had that he didn't have to do any extra running after practice. Nick Saban gets to Miami, isn't happy with the team, and says, all right, we're doing gassers. And Vernon Carey walks off the field. Nick runs after him and is like, yo, what are you doing? You have to go run gassers. And he was like, yeah, talk to my agent. No, I don't. Like you have players on college rosters who make more than their position coach now.
You still there, Nick? I think you cut out for a minute.
Yeah, he's here.
I think my headset broke again.
I'm here. All right. That might be bad.
It's on me.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have, of course, Mr. Cam Jackson. He announced today that he will be coming back as a Florida Gator. We're going to bring him in now, ladies and gentlemen, and talk about it and discuss him why he stayed a Gator, and we're extremely thankful that he is coming back. So let's get into it.
They been sleeping on me, think it's time to wake 'em up. They been sleeping on me, think it's time to wake 'em up. You've been playing it safe, now it's time to shake it up. Playing it safe, now it's time to shake it up. So it's time to make a change. Yeah, it's time to break the chains. Yeah, it's time to bring the pain. Let them know, tell them we are not the same. I'm the one that got the flames. With my team, you know we come to slay. Let them know that we didn't come to play. Nah, we came to win. I'm ready for anything that they can bring. Bring it on, let me do my thing. I'm a giant, they can move the king. If you never risk it, then you never know. If it's holding you back, you gotta let it.
Let me go ahead and get him in here. Excuse me. Well, Mr. Cam Jackson, welcome. I had to change the music there so we didn't get in trouble. But welcome, man. We're so excited to have you back. I honestly, gotta be honest with you, I can't hear anything anybody's saying. So I can only hear myself, and I know you guys can hear me, but my audio for some reason shot. So welcome back. Thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Dave and Nick until I can get this thing figured out to ask you some questions because I can't hear anything. You guys have fun.
What's up, Cam?
Cam?
Go ahead, Nick. If you want to ask you a little question, you can.
Cam, I just want to know, as a writer, you told me Friday, and then you popped off on Wednesday, caught us off guard a little bit. Just what goes into the decision? Obviously, you're getting invites to the Senior Bowl, to the Shrine Bowl. That's elite stuff. And then there's opportunities to go to the draft. So what's the thought process? I'm sure it's different for everyone, but what was your thought process in should I stay, should I go?
I was just talking with my agent, talking with my family. We talked about it. We thought about it, and like you said, like I could have went and played in the Reese's Bowl, or played in the East and West Shrine Bowl, but I did. I figured like I still had unfinished business to take care of for next season, and we all know the season ain't go the way we wanted it to go this year, but I feel like we had unfinished business, and especially like with this being my last year next year, I just want to finish strong with these guys and go further, in my college career.
Yeah, in making a decision like that, it's important. How long did you take to make the decision, and when did you actually know when you were going to come back?
It was, not gonna lie, it was kind of stressful because I was like 1 minute I was like, oh well, I'm gonna go play in the Reese's Bowl, and then 1 minute I'm like, okay, like I really got to think this out. And I just thought about it. I had thought about it. When I met with Coach Napier, me and him, we talked, and I was just thinking about it. I came home, I slept on it, and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna finish this season. I'm gonna come back for my senior season and finish strong.
Man, coach must be a good talker. Coach can sell, because he's got some good recruits, getting some good quarterbacks to come in. What was your reaction when Coach Spencer is the announcement that hey, he's not coming back, because that's your position coach? And when that happened, I thought, okay, we might see some defensive linemen leave, and especially you who had an opportunity. So how did that impact you or your decision?
It impacted me a lot. I know when it happened, I called Dez called me like, I think Dez, like, he called me like 5 or 6 times. And after I answered, I was trying to see like what was going on. So he called me, he was telling me what had happened. I called Coach Spence, I got on the phone with him.
The audio.
Like, yeah, I was telling him like it was really hard for us because we had just lost the FSU too, and the season was over and stuff. So it was hard for us, and I just knew because like I was saying, like I could have went to the draft. I could have went to the Reese's Bowl, performed well in that, and declared for the draft, but I knew Coach Spence. I knew he probably would have wanted me to come back and finish my last season and just be a leader for these guys next year.
Yeah, and how did your teammates react to the news, man? Did anybody like text you first? Did they, did you FaceTime anybody?
No one could get through because Dez was blowing his phone up. Dez was hogging the line.
Um, like when I heard about it, like I ain't like it shocked me. And like after that, like everybody like started calling my phone, like they were like, "Oh man, like what you gonna do? Like you gonna go ahead and go to the Reese's Bowl? Or you gonna come back for another year?" And I just had everybody in mind like everywhere. I was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I'm gonna make my decision soon, and and I was just like, basically just having everybody on their toes.
So, Cam, I hadn't heard anything that you said. So, can you start over? No, I'm just kidding. I assume you guys have been discussing your reason for staying. I wish I was able to hear what you guys were talking about. But did you talk about a little bit, kind of just, I heard the last part here about FSU. At what point? And you said you were going to originally, announce it on Friday. What made you move it up? If you guys haven't asked that already, again, I'm coming in blind here.
Well, for one, because I feel like everybody thought a lot of people thought I was transferring, which that was never a thing. Like, so I was like, and then everybody kept hitting my phone. You had like other people like, come back home to LSU, come to Mississippi, like come to Ole Miss, come to FSU. They was just texting me, like telling me, come here, come there. So in my head, I'm like, okay, like I know I'm not transferring, so like that's our picture. So I was just like, you know what? So I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm finna just go ahead and break the internet today and let people know that I'm coming back and finishing my last season in Florida.
Well, you broke it. We've had some pretty bad news lately, so you broke it. And plus, I thought you were going to go pro. To me, that's what
that was where I thought it was headed. Yeah, I never thought you would leave to go somewhere else. I thought for sure. I think you had a phenomenal year. I think that the fans loved you. You became just one of the center points of the defense, a leader for sure, somebody that we were excited to watch play. I was like, if he goes anywhere, it's definitely going to go to the NFL draft. So a massive decision for you to choose to stay. I think it's fantastic for you. I think it's fantastic. I mean, I'm ecstatic for it. I think you're going to be a huge asset to the defense. And again, kind of talk to us too. What are you looking forward to in this next season on improving on the defense and working with the coaches that will be coming in?
I'm just, trying to get back to being the number one defense in the SEC. Because a lot of people know, like, when the season first started, like, Utah, things really ain't go our way, but we started catching on to it. We was the number one defense in the SEC at one point in time. So I'm just ready. And then for the 2024 class, they're coming in. I'm just ready to work them guys. Really just be a leader, mentor, big brother to them, just lead them and make sure we just all make sure that we all are successful and just have a successful season next year.
One thing I will compliment, and something you always made me feel comfortable after games. I mean, obviously we struggled with a few losses this year, but you would always tweet and kind of, I would say, settle the crowd a little bit with a nice reassuring, hey, we're gonna come back and be better. Talk to us a little bit and kind of walk us through that mentality, and just it felt like the locker room never quit on each other, right? Can you kind of talk about that and what was keeping the glue, I guess, together for you guys?
I say just the leaders in the locker room, like just keeping everybody head up. Like you had Graham, you had Ricky, Princely, me, Sap, like you just had all of us in there. And we'll just be talking to the guys, keeping their heads up, telling it like we get another chance to go play football again. And I just be talking to them, make sure everybody motivated, and just so when time to come back for practice, like we got like high energy and stuff. So like when we go back out there, like we ain't thinking about like we just lost, so practice won't just be like just draggy or whatever. So I just used to talk to them guys and make sure just holding them accountable because they was doing the same for me.
I love that. And then Princely's a big name that's obviously on the list. Now that you're back with the good guys, right? You've got some work to do, Cam. You got some work to do. I told you another day, hey, there's some guys from Memphis coming into the portal, some offensive linemen. What's your game plan on recruiting asset, Cam? Because we need you here. We need a voice.
Cam's telling Princely, he's like, hey man, you got a peanut allergy. The Reese's Senior Bowl, they're giving you those peanut candies. Like, hey man, you don't want to get sick. You got to come back, dude.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, I've been talking to Princely. Been talking to Princely then, and trying to get him to come back. I don't really know his decision yet. Really, I hope he come back because that'll be a big factor on the defense. Knowing Princely, he's a great player, one of the best edge rushers in the country, if you ask me. So I'm just trying to recruit them, people to come back and get some people out of the portal to come here because like I said, we gonna need people, because we lost a lot of great players. So I'm just recruiting, trying to get people to get come here.
And that's interesting because coaches aren't supposed to by NCAA rules, but there's no rules that players can't talk to each other. You can slide in the DMs on Instagram. You can hit them up on Twitter, like, yo, hey, come over here. I need to holler at you real quick. A coach can't.
Yeah,
but you can have players go recruit their friends or former teammates, whatever the case is.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you could be like the middleman for the coaches. Just have them text you to them, and then you just say it to them. There you go.
Yes.
Now we're gonna get hit with tampering. Easy, guys, easy. But look, I mean, Cam, I think like I said, it's great for you that you became the orange and blue Gator, just coming in from the portal and having the impact that you did. I know you said you were going to talk about it, pray with it. What was your mom feeling? What was her kind of overall thoughts? And again, maybe this was a question I didn't hear about it, but how was she feeling about you staying a Gator?
She happy. She supported my decision. I think she was more happier than more. I think she was happier. I think she was more happier than half of the fans because when I called her today, she was she looked like she wanted to cry, like she was just happy and stuff. And like I told her, this last ride. I know I got to go out with a bang this season. And just have fun. And I know she gonna be she made a lot of games this year, but I know she gonna be at every game this. I know she gonna try to make every game we play next season. So.
You play with a lot of motion this year. I can only imagine what it's going to be like next year, especially with us having more home games. And like you just said, it's the last ride. We got to lay it all on the line. So, like I said, you were a nice shine of brightness today. When it feels like it's been raining here on Gator Nation, it was a good thing to see you come back. And we've been in communication. So, look, man, I appreciate you coming on the show to talk about it. Do you guys have any other questions before we let them go?
No.
I want to ask about that agility. I mean, you make that play against Florida State, those high stepping like Dion back in the day. I want to talk about just the agility from a big man, 6'5", 300 pounds, getting those legs up.
That play, I knew it was because that was my first time playing against Florida State. I ain't never played against them. But I know the head coach real well, Michael Bell. Y'all know he came from Memphis or whatever.
That's right.
So I knew that play. So as I was rushing, the guard tried to bump me or whatever, and I planted, and I seen the quarterback, and I was like, yeah, he probably can try to throw the ball, because he wanted to step up, but I was right there, and then I started rushing again when he threw it. I just knew I had to jump up and tip it. So that was just me being athletic, really.
Making a play.
What was I think the two games that really stick out to me were Tennessee and Florida State. But what's it like on the field as a player, getting that, especially on defense? Because when you're at home, they're quiet when the offense is on the field, but when you're on the field, it's pretty loud. What's that like? I mean, you're coming from Memphis. I don't want to put Memphis down. It's just a smaller stadium. What's it like to play at the Swamp against those Tennessees and Florida States?
It's fun. Like, I be telling my I be telling my linebackers when we come to the sideline, like, they be have to give me like a strong left, strong right call with their hand because it be so loud now. So, and it's just exciting. Like, especially like you make a big play and all the fans just get loud. Then they got the camera on you on the big screen. You hyping them up more, like telling them to get loud more. Like, it's fun. I enjoy playing in front of them this season. I know next season is really gonna, it's gonna be fun again because I get to do it again in front of them.
So I do want to ask too, because again, playing, you got to go through the rivals, you got to go through Georgia, Tennessee, FSU. Who do you hate more?
Who did I hate more? I don't like
that LSU one was tough.
Yeah.
I hate Florida State now. Like, just for me playing against, I don't like Florida.
It's fresh. Feelings mutual, Cam. Feelings mutual.
Yeah, and the reason I like them because like they win, they bring the gator head out. Like, I don't like that.
Hey, Cam, we've got a bunch of Florida State fans in our chat. What do you got to say to them, man?
Just be ready for next season. I feel like it's gonna be a good game. Like, I gotta give them their props. Like, they pulled it off. I hate it went down like that, but as next season, I feel like it's gonna be different.
Hey, that's it. And they won't be taking our turf. We'll be planting that flag in the middle of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Got to.
You gotta do that. You gotta do that if we beat them.
Got to.
They were all kinds of disrespectful on Saturday, so we got to bring the juice into Doak next year. Well, Cam, tell them where they can find you, man, on Instagram and Twitter. I know you go live on Instagram, and you were going live on Instagram when you were, just when all these things went down. So tell them where they can find you, man, so they can kind of keep up with you. You're phenomenal on Twitter, so if you're not following Cam, you got to be.
Instagram is Cam Jackson _10, and my Twitter is Cam Jackson 72.
And again, guys, if you go follow him, he's very interactive. I mean, you comment, you like, you retweet. You're a big part of the fans and being a part of this Gator Nation, which it's been a blast. I remember I interviewed you when you first hit the portal. Such a burst of energy. It's been a blast. I met you at Friday Night Lights. It's been a pleasure again, just watching you throughout the year and get to know you, love you as a player, man. So again, I appreciate you coming on here tonight and on Monday to discuss your process. Good luck to you next year, man. It's going to be fun watching. I'm excited to see what you guys were able to do in the offseason and kick some ass next year.
Yes, I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, man. Go Gators.
Sir, go Gators.
Well. Good stuff there. Glad you guys were able to take over the show. You guys are professionals at this. I have no clue what happened. I'm glad you could still hear him. I don't know what happened, but
I was taking pointers from Nick, man. He's the real legend over here. I'm just the guy that reports the news.
Well, I felt weird because I was like, I don't know what they talked about for the last. It felt like 30 minutes. Then I looked up. I was like, it's only been 2 minutes. Who knows what they could have talked about? But
when something's going wrong, though, it feels like that 2 minutes feels like an eternity.
It did, and I'm over.
He was just talking really badly about you. I don't know why.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, like, come on, that guy's a piece of shit
about you. Don't watch the show back. I don't think you're gonna want to hear it.
The good news is he talked about Holly's forehead, so
that never fails. Well, Nick, again, man, I appreciate you coming on and giving us a juice, and then also taking over and co-hosting there with Dave there for a little bit.
Yeah.
But we caught an audible there. You asked to stay on, and I appreciate you staying on, man. Thank you again for coming on. We love to have you back on if you didn't hate it here. I think the fans loved you. We got over 900 people in here. We had 1,000 at one point. Absolutely jumping, guys. Be sure to smash the like button. But Nick, tell them where they could find you, man. Again, you're very active on Twitter as well,
I want
too.
them to find me.
That's true, too.
Depending on the time or the day, I don't know. But yeah, it's everything's at Gators Online that I write. We have our podcast. I'm on 2 podcasts, State and Gale and Gators Online Show. And you can find me on Twitter at Delatorre, Instagram's at Nick Delatorre. I was telling Dave, people are hitting my Instagram up asking me about Gators. I'm like, guys, this is pictures of my dog, my wife, and my food. and some stadiums. Like, hit Twitter for that stuff.
Levels to this stuff,
guys. Double tap on Instagram and keep it moving. That's all I ask.
I need my safe space.
Next time I'm down in Gainesville, man, we'll have to have a date at Embers, man. I've never been there.
Yeah, let me know next time you're down. I don't know if I have any pull over there. God, how do I get an NIL deal? I should have asked Cam that. Just all the free promotion.
You've been around
All
long
the
enough.
free promotion. My goodness.
Well, Nick, baseball's just on the corner, man. So no need. You'll be in a happy place here sooner rather than later. Team looks good. Team looks stout. Maybe we'll have you on to talk some Gator baseball later on in the year. But
Cool.
again,
He's the baseball king.
yeah, I know. Look, I'm a baseball guy myself, big Braves fan, so I love me some good baseball. We actually talked during the playoffs. You're a Heat guy as well too, right?
Yeah, all South Florida sports, except for like no one in South Florida really likes the Panthers. Like it's just like you root for them because they're the home team, but all the South Florida sports except for the Panthers. I don't not like them. I just don't watch hockey.
Yeah, that's fair. And they're never. I mean, they were good this year. That was kind of fun to watch. Well, again, Nick, absolute blast, man. Thank you. Pleasure. Shout out to Dave for making this work for bullying you on here. I appreciate him doing that. And you be good, man. Go Gators. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Dick.
That's Nick Del Toro, ladies and gentlemen. We got a super chat here from Adam Miller. Says Gators by 1,000,000. I love the energy, boys and girls. Over 900 people here on a Wednesday night. You guys are absolutely incredible. And here they all go. We're about to have 150 people in here because
Always for it.
Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy!
All right, Steve. Let's get this shit out of the way. Take your 3 minutes. Actually, not even 3. I'll give you 60 seconds, 90 seconds to make your reign of FSU. Talk your shit. I already said congratulations.
You keep changing the field goal here.
It's down to 30 seconds.
3 minutes. It was
make
30,
it quick.
Yeah. Look, I don't have anything. I'm not a shit talker. It was a great game. It went back and forth. Neither offense should be excited about what they saw. Both defenses, I think, played well. I think Billy Billy'd you. Billy did what Billy did a couple of times this year. And I don't think that Trey Smack's a bad kicker. I think you guys put him in an odd position a couple of times on some really long field goals. Billy played very conservative, kicked a field goal on a 4th and 1 inside the 20 where I think he should have gone for it. But it is what it is, man. The double reverse, stupid things like that. Look, it was a ball game that both teams were just going to try to see who screws up the least. And there were just a couple of plays that went FSU's way. That's really all that was.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was almost like the tale of two halves, almost in a way.
Yeah.
Oh
well,
yeah, dude! It 12-0. Trust me, when it was 12-0,
I'm sure you were cursing.
I'm like,
yeah, I'm sure you were cursing.
Pumpkin,
Yeah,
Pumpkin,
I'm sure you were not
it was
happy.
bad. It was bad.
I was happy.
I was cursing even when we were winning, but I mean,
I was surrounded by a good 10 FSU fans. I was standing right next to 2 of them, and we had to become boys. Like we were very respectful. I shook his hand on the way out. It was actually nice, and not me, a douchebag FSU fan that I had to sit with every week. But it was nice. There was a few in front of me that were a little obnoxious, but again, none of that phases me because I'm gonna give it back to you. Just know that, again, like I'm all for shit talking. The problem is that I would say 80% of fans don't understand how to keep it in between the lines, right? Like it immediately becomes personal. It's like, look, we're here. Like we can yell, we can scream at each other, but just it's here. let's not go any further than that, right? Like I saw the video on TikTok or whatever. The guy put an L in somebody's face. I was like, if somebody would have done that to me, your face would have met my boot. Like there's
even just getting close. Okay, so getting close is one thing. Like as people are walking up, you're giving them the L on the way up. But as soon as you messed up and you actually pop the girl in the head. All right, bro.
You're going, yeah, I was like, you're going to the ground.
This is going to be like human bowling because we're all going to go down about 9 rows as I turn you into. We're both going. I'm going with you.
I will sacrifice my entire life to make sure that you never walk again. That's where we're at. There was nobody really said anything to me. No, every FSU fan, we made eye contact. I said congrats, and everyone was pretty cool. Everyone was doing the chant, which I love it. Here's the thing. I kind of said this too. I know a lot of Gator fans get upset when people do the Gator chomp, like opposing teams, or they rip the stadium up, or like the Mizzou stuff. I've been very adamant about this. If you don't like it, fucking beat them. I'm all for it. I am all for it. If you want to go out there and look, everyone handles their win differently. I'm a Conor McGregor fan. If you don't think that I'm an obnoxious prick, when I'm winning, you got another thing coming. So there's ways of handling it. If you don't, look, it's a very easy way to handle it. Just don't beat them. You had FSU playing during Tom Petty. They had you playing your tomahawk chop. I love it.
Yep.
Like I hate it, but I love. That's what makes the rivalry special. Is those moments. Right. You should take that and use it as fuel. You shouldn't be upset because they're being disrespectful. Like That's what you want in a rivalry. This isn't supposed to be fair. This isn't supposed to be nice. I want to hate you. And that's how I felt in a healthy way. In a healthy way.
Right, exactly. I mean,
People don't
look,
love that.
Look, even for Cam, right? I mean, he even just said, he was like, of all the teams, he played for Memphis, and yet Tennessee wasn't his biggest rival, right? You would think that he would have been like, I hate Tennessee. He played at Memphis. So there's a lot of more of a backstory there. But FSU was the one that stood out to him. Why? Because that was the most raw, the most real for him right now, and especially with the Gatorhead. Like, there's certain things that each team does to one another that makes a rivalry a rivalry. And
Sure.
if they don't do those things, then it gets boring, right? Then,
I want to hate you in a healthy way.
Right.
Yeah, I also saw a video of like a kid, like in the recruiting section where they sit in the front. I've sat there before, like near the tunnel. Like there's a bunch of recruits that sit in the front right behind the goalpost, and he's like telling them, "Oh, this place sucks. Let's go to Florida State."
Love
Dude,
it.
if you're gonna send a guy to go tell the guy sitting there to go to Florida State, make sure he doesn't look like a Backstreet Boy. The dude had his like hair dyed. He was really skinny. Like, come on.
Yeah,
dude.
he wasn't a good closer. I agree with that, Dave. I agree with that.
I did
boys,
not see that, but
we got a lot to go. We're going to talk about portal news because that was busy today. Then we're going to talk about just the playoffs. That's been a big point of emphasis, and then some news on a Georgia quarterback. So it could be interesting. But first order of business is, what's this portal look like already? Again, it hasn't truly opened, but it's open, like we just talked about with Nick Del Toro there. And some of the big names, I kind of just want to, we're going to keep an eye on this through the offseason. Will Howard, quarterback from Kansas State, obviously On3 does a good job, I believe, kind of rating these guys. High 4-star now, coming out as a senior. So just like Nick said, there's a ton of quarterbacks in the transfer portal. So we're all freaking out about Max Brown. Look at all these teams that are losing their guy. It'd be like us losing Max or Graham Mertz, right? Or how we were last year with Anthony Richardson. Mertz does come back. There's something promising there that we'll finally have a year with the same quarterback in back-to-back years, which we haven't had in quite some time. Riley Leonard, who seems already to be crystal ball to Notre Dame, which is very interesting given the fact that it hasn't opened yet, although he's already crystal balled. So tampering, I don't think so. Maybe so. There's a lot of big offensive linemen, but you can also see they're already projected to land somewhere. Tyler Van Dyke, massive name that's entered into the portal. He somehow has increased his value. Don't know what they're looking at. I think every Texas A&M player has entered into the portal. Will Rogers, quarterback from Mississippi State, he's entered into the portal. Again, just kind of some big-time names. KJ Jefferson was announced by On3 that he was entering into the portal, but then said he wasn't. It's kind of like a Kamari Wilson situation. So everyone is just firing all cylinders here. Again, nothing's truly open. It's just people, like Nick said, where they're buying a ticket. They're showing that they will be entering it, but nobody is actually in the portal currently. So busy day. And it will continue to be busy days for the transfer portal heading into Monday, and I would assume even more after that.
Yeah.
Look, at this point, you basically booked your room, but you don't actually pay for it until you show up and you have to present your card that you actually booked it on, and they do that whole process at the check-in desk. Anybody can go on to like Kayak or whatever the case may be, like plug random website in here,
Sure,
and book a room. But it's not until you show up that you really make that commitment. So I think we're in booking season right now.
What's interesting is Max Johnson, quarterback from Texas A&M, who actually showed out and did a pretty good job at Texas A&M, has already committed to North Carolina, and the portal isn't even opened yet. Like, you can't make this shit up.
Yeah, there was a report out there that said he had some stipulation where nobody could contact him once he entered the portal.
No, that's Riley Leonard. That's Riley Leonard.
Oh, okay, yeah. So this is an interesting statistic here. Last year, 8,699 NCAA football players entered the transfer portal between August the 1st and May the 1st of 2023. 8,000, almost 9,000.
How many are left?
I don't know. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have that here. But there's some kids that do get left behind. They get left behind with school, and then they have to either go back to the school that they were at or sit in the portal.
No, that's risky. That's the big risk right there. Is like, let's be honest. I mean, if you enter the transfer portal, I think it's usually either like you talk about either the player saying, I don't want to be here, maybe a mutual agreement between the team and the player. But look, once you go in, it's very, very few and far between, unless that door closes very quickly for the player, that they end up back at the same school. Let's say that if you take that step, you better hope that you have a home on the other side, or you could literally just be, that's like the upside down of college football as being in there.
Yeah, so it says 8,699 from August 1st to May the 1st. This says overall 20,911 student athletes entered the transfer
I
portal in
have to pee.
2020.
You guys keep going real quick.
It says
We'll keep going.
an increase over last year or 2021, 17,781. So, probably maybe 50%, if not even 50% is getting to another school or something like that. And all the other kids are having to go back and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, coach, can I still play for
If
this
they can,
team?"
because look, like, I mean, we're assuming at that point that the school hasn't either one filled that position with a high school recruit, which is maybe why that player is in the portal to begin with, because they don't like their playing time, forecast, or two, there's another player in the portal that school is now picked up, and now there's not a spot for you to come back to. I dropped this in the chat when Nick was on. But ESPN reported earlier today that 2022 football rosters, 6.8% of football rosters in 2022 consisted of transfers. In 2023, 20.6% of college football rosters consisted of transfers. That is, I mean, and I don't expect that number to dwindle this year. I think that 20 to 30% of an average 85-man roster now in college football is going to look like they're hired mercenaries, if you want to put it in that regard, especially with the NIL. You can buy players for a year, which, I'm not going to like shake my finger at it with what FSU has done. But I mean, 20.6% of rosters in 2023 being transfer players versus 6.8% just 1 year previous. That is astounding. Wow. in what that means for just the trajectory of college football moving forward.
Yeah, portal's going to be a massive asset, which we talked about. I don't think it's going to be the end all be all. And a good team to point to is Colorado right now. They're going over a lot of attrition. A lot of guys are leaving because they were their last year of eligibility. So you can't survive constantly rotating your roster. In FSU, we were talking about it. I don't know where I was talking about. I think I was talking about yesterday on All Kinds of Weather, their podcast, where Norvell did a good job of being active in the portal for 2 years and then connecting it with a top recruiting class this year. And I'm sure he'll still be active again next year in the portal as well.
Gonna have to be, yeah.
Yeah, and when you look at all the coaching changes and assistant coaching changes and all that's going to entice kids more to go into the portal. And Holly said he expects an increase. I do too. As the portal ages and NIL ages, people are starting to figure out different strategies of getting into the portal, getting to a different team. I mean, you're going to have tampering. It's going to happen. It happens at every school. I think now when you see the beginning of the transfer portal till now, teams are starting to figure out, hey, I can contact these kids because the NCAA is not going to do anything to all 128 teams that are tampering right now. So I might as well do it too. So I think now why you see the big increase of the percentage of transfer portal guys is because all of that is going on at the same time as well.
One thing I do want to point out, and this real fast before if we transition from here, is people were talking about Florida and the timing of letting some of these coaches go, and whether or not it made sense to potentially lose a position coach that some of these recruits have committed to. I mean, look, you commit to the head coach, you commit to the school, but you also commit to the guy that's going to be your direct hands-on coach for your college career. And to lose those guys, sometimes you feel like, wow, that's kind of my guy, right? So, you look at this and you say, well, man, did he really have to do that before the early signing period? Well, look, before the transfer portal, it used to happen a lot where schools wouldn't let a position coach go until after signing day, there was only one back then. And then afterwards, they would let these guys go. And then all of a sudden, the kid is like, well, I'm stuck. I can't go anywhere unless I make this huge move and I sit out for a year. So back then, it made sense where you maybe don't make those coaching changes until after the signing period is over so that you can still keep those relationships. But now if you pull a fast move like that, if you let signing day go by and Corey Raymond and I think Spencer is your defensive line coach, whoever the other guy is that they let go, if you let those guys stay in that position and these kids make that early signing day commitment, and then you yank the rug out from underneath them by changing the coach, they can get their ass right back out.
Yeah.
So it changes the dynamic of why wait. Just tell them ahead of time, that's not going to be the guy. We already have a plan. Here's what the longevity looks like. Make him a part of the future instead of making them feel like they committed to something they're not going to be a part of moving forward, because they could get their asses so fast now that you just change the dynamic significantly of what was just 5 years ago, where you didn't make those kind of changes at this point in the season, in the off season per se, because of that reason specifically.
For sure. Boys and girls, we got over 850 people, 880 in here right now. Smash the like button. We can easily get over 300 likes by you guys just showing some love. Appreciate everyone who's been here this entire time for over an hour. You guys rock and incredible. Next up for order of business here, I was going to say it again, Stetson Bennett. It's not Stetson Bennett. Carson Beck. We spoke on our Sunday night show, which is our college football show in general, and I got to talking. I was like, Carson Beck is having a hell of a year. And look, he's not going to win the Heisman, but I was like, it's crazy that he's not at least in the conversation. It's crazy that he's not at least being looked at, right? And the reason being, when you take a look at his stats, they're similar to Jaden Daniels. Outside, he's 10 tutties behind Jaden Daniels. But alongside Bo Nix, Michael Penix, he's not far off. Now, an article was written today by Dog Nation that Georgia is negotiating to keep Carson Beck as his NFL draft stock has continued to rise. And where this is coming from is the Carson Beck, this is from Mel Kiper Jr. Carson Beck is the highest rated NFL quarterback prospect in the hunt for a college football playoff spot. So just kind of take that in for a second, okay? The highest rated NFL quarterback prospect in the hunt. That's over Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels. I was going to say Milroe isn't a prospect. Jordan Travis, but obviously him being injured, that probably plays an aspect to that. But the fact that he's being higher rated right now than Bo Nix and Michael Penix, Caleb Williams is not in the hunt. So clearly he's not saying he's higher rated than Caleb Williams. It's just teams that are in the hunt is very interesting. Very interesting. Quinn Ewers, who is choosing to stay, also I would say is considered to be in the hunt, but he still has an NFL draft stock, you would think, right? So very interesting. That's something that I said too. I said, look, right now, Stetson Bennett's a junior. And if he has which he has had a hell of a close to his year, plays a great SEC championship, and wins one of the playoff games, all of a sudden, Carson Beck's going to be like, hey, I might be a first-round draft pick. And out of nowhere. And I risked coming back and injure all these things. And you did a good job, Kirby, for building me up, and I appreciate it. So, again, this conversation is starting on how can we keep him. And there's also talks of how much it is to keep him, which per Matt Rule said it costs anywhere from $1 million to $2 million to keep a good quarterback from leaving, going either into the portal or into the NFL draft. Caleb Williams, I believe, that the number was $4 million. It's basically cap and salary, guys. I don't even know why we're even talking like it's NIL anymore. But there's a piece of the article that I want to read here that really got my ears perked up a little bit. It says, when we do our calls with NFL teams, some of the best information that came up on the call this year was like, hey, Jim, I was just through Athens, and they're trying to keep Carson Beck. Nagy said per on 3. So the UGA staff wants to keep Carson Beck. So we did not send an invite to Carson Beck. I've known Kirby Smart a long time. Those relationships with the college coaches mean everything to us here. What do you mean an invite, Sheldon? Well, an invite to the Senior Bowl, which juniors are allowed to be invited to, i.e. Princely and Cam Jackson, both were invited to the Senior Bowl. If you participate in that Senior Bowl, you are basically saying, I am gone. I am declaring for either I'm exiting, or more like if you're going to invite to the Senior Bowl, your draft stock is probably high enough to where you're going to get drafted. So that's kind of that initial step. They just said blatantly that we didn't want to upset Kirby. We didn't want to enforce Carson to possibly leave because we have a good relationship with him. Are you like, it's like they don't even care anymore to say like, yeah, like we're in cahoots with Curbs. We love the guy. We want them to do very well. Why didn't they feel the same way about Billy? Why did you go and send Princely, our junior, a Senior Bowl? You didn't care about Billy's feelings? Like, this is wild to me. This is absolutely, like, am I crazy here? Am I just being a bitter fan, or am I being reasonable? Like Like, you come out and blatantly say, we're not going to send it to a quarterback that probably deserves to be invited to the Senior Bowl, because why are you being invited to the Senior Bowl? You have showed expectation in your position. We feel that you probably would do well in the NFL. I'm assuming, right? I don't know what the criteria is, but he probably would have got an invite if he wasn't playing for Kirby, is what it sounds like. Dave, I'll let you go first because you're a big Georgia fan.
Yeah, I'm a wonderful Georgia fan. I mean, like, either way, whether they send him an invite or not, you can go on the, I guess, conspiracy theorist part, whatever. I mean, Carson Beck, of course, he's been great. Over 3,000 yards, 72.2% completion rating, 91.9 pass grade there on PFF, which is amazingly good. I mean, when you look at their quarterback room, you got Brock Vandagriff, Gunnar Stockton, you got Dylan Raiola coming in. Are you really going to lose out on anything with all that talent that you got on the bench anyway? It's a good problem to have, but while they say that, I mean, you don't really know if they're doing that with other schools, though, too. Just asking, like, hey, you know, whatever, if Billy's got a good relationship with him or not. I mean, they just weren't mentioned. But at the same time, like, I guess you could look at that and say, yeah, that's a little head scratching as well. But we obviously don't know. This is one article from one person that, you know, probably knows the insides of Georgia and what's going on. I mean, it could have probably happened to other schools as well. I don't know that whole process about the Senior Bowl and all that and the invites, but you know, I'm just trying to be fair. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I'm checking your temp. You feeling all right, Bubba? What the hell was that all about? Fucking weirdo.
Well, I'm gonna finish you to hell with Georgia, and I hope Alabama wins. Go ahead, Holly.
Hold on, before you go. So look, I agree. There was a ton of talent stacked behind them because of what we heard of Brock and the other. I can't think of the other name right now. Gunnar Stockton. But again, it's the unknown. If I'm Kirby, I'm doing everything I can to keep Carson Beck because you're poised to win a possible third in a row. You bring Carson Beck for another. That 4 looks pretty good. And look, the schedule they had this year allowed for Carson to get warmed up. It's not going to be the same as next year. So you don't want to be in that position with a new quarterback if you don't have to be. So I agree. Yes, there's a ton of talent there, but I could assure you they don't want to play Russian roulette with those quarterbacks if they don't have to.
They were in a position with a new quarterback this year.
Oh, I know, but you don't want to keep having to do that if you don't have to. I mean, they didn't have a choice with Stetson Bennett. The guy's 35 years old. He had to go. But it will be interesting. Look, if he goes out, Huh?
I said Vandagriff's been there forever.
He has been, but you still hasn't won the job over Carson Beck. So how much better is he really? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I agree with you. There's a ton of talent there, and so that is another one to think about. If Carson does choose to stay, there's 2 big quarterbacks that are going to be hitting the portal, which is going to be a ton of talent. So that's going to be an interesting to keep an eye out for come January, because I imagine they won't do anything until after their preseason ventures. So should be an interesting one.
What if we look at it this way? What if there was maybe let's just say like there was some interest by the NFL to Kirby to say, hey, is your quarterback considering even going to the NFL? If so, we have an invite for him. And the conversation between Carson and Kirby is, no, I'm not going to the NFL. Well, then don't waste your invite. Get out of here. Now let's look at it. I mean, yeah, exactly. Now look, how many people do you think? How many players in the last 5 to 10 years do you think got an invite to the Senior Bowl that didn't go through Saban first? That Saban got blindsided by.
Sure.
Hold on, you got what? No. So look, I think it comes down to this. Like, and we'll use Cam, right? Because he was on here just a minute ago. He got an invite, but I don't feel like, even from the conversation that we just had with him, in all due respect, that he knew whether he was going to accept the invite or come back. So you take the invite, give him the invite, and I think that at that point, then you've got that fluidity. But in a situation where, you know, look, these Gestapo-style coaches that oddly all seem to come from the same coaching tree have a control over every little minutia thing. You know, you just don't. I don't think a coach is going to allow an invite to even be rendered to a player unless there's already been some communication between coach and player to even get to that point. Look, I don't think Billy knew what the answer would be for Cam, and I don't think Cam knew what the answer would be from Cam. So Cam was like, "Yeah, I'll take the invite." He didn't accept it, but he damn for sure got the invite, so he could make his own decision.
Yeah, quit trying to shit on my thoughts here. I'm spot on with Kirby being in cahoots.
Maybe they thought Carson Beck was going to get a speeding ticket and go to jail. Who knows?
Okay. All right. See, we had a good thing going, Dave, right? Like we were being cordial. We're having a good time. All right, let's get into, we've got a couple things here. Obviously, we had our pick'ems. And the reason I'm showing this first before I go, I'm going to backtrack here because we've got our last week of pick'ems here, which Steve has ran away with it. But I made a massive surge last week, getting 7 right out of like 12. And Dave got 1 right, which allowed me to just zoom past him. Incredible comeback by me. I'm proud. I was sweating.
I hate whoever I picked because they did not cover their spreads if they won, and if they lost, they just lost.
All of them?
I felt like Dave was with us, and when he was with us, he lost. And then the few times that he went against us, he lost. And then the other times he pushed. Like that was Dave's luck last week. And he said, "Look, I got to swing here." Look, it was all of them were close. It wasn't. There was a few that you were way off. I'm the only one that got Oregon right. Steve was the only one that got NC State right. So we had a few of those. Dave, we both picked Florida, and obviously that backfired tremendously. So, but it looks like.
We won't have to worry about picking Florida anymore. So
yeah, that's true. I can take a guaranteed L off my board. That's fantastic. But there is obviously a lot of question of the Final Four, and everybody is throwing a fit about it of who should make it and why. There's a clip of Kirk Herbstreit here, and I'm going to play it, and then we're going to discuss it. Let me play it first.
So as a guy who calls these games, I don't want to do the right thing. If you talk to Bill Hancock, and we had lots of meetings about this, they're not supposed to do the right thing. They're supposed to, their job is put the best 4 teams in the playoff. Now, again, it's subjective. Who you think and I think are the best 4 are different, and that's fine. But that's what that group is supposed to do. Not what do we think about ratings? That's bullshit. Put the fucking best 4 teams in the game.
Kirk throwing out a little juice there, boys and girls, dropping a little F-bomb. He's watching the show. So I think, obviously it's a very small clip, but what I believe he's alluding to is everybody's calling for Texas or Oregon to get in over FSU, even if FSU goes undefeated. And because that's what that's saying, like that's the best. That's what's going to be the best for ratings. But he's arguing it's the 4 best teams, meaning if FSU wins, they're in. And I was telling Steve before the show, and I'm telling other FSU fans, I said, look, man, if you're a college football fan, nobody wants FSU in it right now, simply due to the fact that Jordan Travis is out. I didn't want FSU in it regardless, for personal reasons. But I've been very clear, right? The non-bias in me of like, if they're they're in. I don't really care. The schedule, all that nonsense means nothing to me because you have to a set of rules that you followed over the last decade that we've had the college football playoffs, right? And when you put TCU in last year, you set a line of here's how we handle this. And look, Kerb's right. As much as it makes sense, even if FSU were to win, to put Texas and Oregon in, and my golly, what that would do for the college football playoffs would just be a show for the ages. If FSU wins, they deserve to be in. As much as I hate it, you cannot overlook the fact that they went undefeated and won the ACC. You can't hold them accountable for injuries that have occurred to their team and keep them out of it. There's no way. For the fact that there's even a possible discussion of it shows to me that there's an issue.
Yeah, I think okay, so what Herbstreit said resonates with me a lot because last year you look at this playoff. I've been through this 1,000 times. TCU should have never been in that playoff, losing to Kansas State, almost losing to Baylor as well. Alabama was clearly the better team than TCU, and they left them out at number 5. That really pissed me off because I wanted to see a good playoff. We knew TCU. We knew if Alabama matched up against Georgia, it would have been a lot better matchup. I can't tell you who would have won that matchup, but it would have been a lot better. Instead, we got TCU versus Georgia, and they blow them the hell out. It wasn't even contested. I even told everybody TCU is going to get murdered. It's not a great game at all. Now, the Ohio State-Georgia game was probably the national championship last year. So you go into this year, and like he said, those guys are supposed to pick the best teams, not what's fair, what's not, who won their who's the better team? Like, who's the better team? Combine that with wins, I guess, if you want to, then put them in the playoffs. So if you get an Alabama that beats Georgia, they both got 1 loss. They're the conference champions. Shouldn't they be in there with Georgia? I mean, I don't think Georgia's going to fall more than 4 spots if Alabama beats them. And then you got Oregon versus Washington. You know, you gotta put one of those in if whoever wins that game. So like, I thought they did a piss poor job last year getting the best 4 teams. Like there's been some years where it's easy to pick apart the top 4 teams, but last year I thought they did a piss poor job. I'm hoping this year that they don't mess it up.
If FSU wins, the best thing that could happen, and obviously for personal reasons and for cultural reasons, FSU needs to lose. And then I think it'll kind of, nobody will be upset with how it happens, because then at that point you're going to have 4, however, whether it's Oregon, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, like one of those 4 teams, it's going to make it fun. Again, if FSU had Jordan Travis, I'd be like let it ride. They deserve it. And they deserve it if they win. They deserve it if they win, because that's just the way that it is. It's just going to suck watching them get, I believe they'll get plastered with Tate Rodemaker. And that's just, nobody else is dealing with that. That's not really FSU's fault. Steve, we'll let you go, bud.
Look, I mean, so we say let's put the best 4 teams in the playoffs, and let's not forget the fact that even though TCU got blown out by Georgia, I feel like most teams would have got blown out by Georgia last year. I don't really care who the 4th team was. TCU still beat Michigan in a one hell of a football game. Ohio State had to play Georgia in one hell of a football game. We're isolating the entire playoff system into the finals. We understand that TCU and Georgia was a lopsided game, but everybody is completely like blocking out the fact that there were 2 really good football games to even get to that. So that's one part of it. Is let's not forget that TCU still got to the finals, right? Maybe they just figured out that Michigan was cheating and figured out a way around it. So that's just a part of it. But look, regardless, the other piece of this is that FSU, short of the last 6 quarters of football, had Jordan Travis. Is that a major talent loss? Absolutely. Do we have enough body of work of Tate Rodemaker at quarterback to say that Florida State, his entire season, has been lost because he can't win games? We don't have enough body of work for Tate Rodemaker to say that. Florida
Solid
State
point.
did not go into that game against Florida in the swamp at night against a rival with the intention of Tate Rodemaker winning the damn thing. That was not the game plan. So nobody knows whether or not Tate Rodemaker could go out there and throw for 250 to 300 yards, because we didn't ask him to. He might very well walk out there against Louisville, and he might very well throw for 250, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, be one hell of a game manager. And if that's the case, I don't want to hear shit, because that's all you need if you've got a decent defense, which FSU has. If you can have a running back who turns 3-yard carries in the first quarter to 4-yard carries in the second quarter to 9-yard carries in the third quarter to 12-yard carries in the fourth, because he's just a brick of a human. Those are the kind of things that turn teams that look average into the damn team that just keeps on winning. And we were told that we were going to lose to LSU. We were told that we were going to lose to Duke. We were told that we were going to lose to Florida. All these things. We keep hearing how FSU isn't going to be good enough in certain situations, and they win these damn games. I understand that that Travis is gone, but nobody has seen whether or not Tate can run an offense designed around Tate and him being the offensive guy. That was not the Florida game from the start.
I think you nailed on the head. You really kind of turned my mindset there. I agree. That's a great point. We're kind of shitting on one game of what we saw from Tate Rodemaker. And look, I think you're 100% right. We're kind of jumping to conclusions because we've all been leaning. I think everyone feels that FSU hasn't played the hardest schedule. And look, to be fair, hasn't looked really dominant in their wins. But most importantly, they've won. And that's all that really matters at the end of the day. I still think you get curb stomped by 30 by Georgia. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to rebuttal on that. Do you really, though, put a Florida State team in there if they win against Louisville, a Louisville team that lost to a 6-5 Kentucky team? Now they've got what, 2 losses?
Yes, 100% you do. That's not even look, they won the ACC championship. You can't hold FSU accountable for the schedule they've played, because technically, I believe they've attempted to play a harder schedule than most schools that are in front of them because of their out of conference schedule. Look, I hate FSU more than the next guy.
If FSU still had Jordan Travis, I would love to see them in the playoff. That's the problem. Is like I just don't like. Do you think they're going to beat Georgia? I don't.
No, but I don't think anybody thought that TCU would beat Georgia either.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody thought TCU would beat Michigan.
Yeah, but it took a lot of mistakes for TCU to win that game.
That's part of it, though. That's why you play the games.
That's
why.
football, baby.
That's why you show
look,
up.
if that's the case, if that's the case, then let's just call the national championship whoever ESPN considers their power ranking, right? Technically, right now in the ESPN power ranking, somehow Ohio State's still first. I mean, why play the game then?
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, I agree with you. Look, I think
a lot of this is solved with the 12-team playoff. I mean, really.
Well, it's then we're arguing about the 13th team, which is LSU.
Yeah, the 13th team is the one who's complaining. It's probably LSU, right?
But again, that 13th team, like a fourth seed, has a lot more control of how the playoffs are going to run versus a 13. Like, bro, like, shut up, dude. I'm not going to be arguing for a 13th. I'm like, well, the 13th best teams didn't play. No, nobody's going to be losing sleep over 13 teams because you're going to have 12 of the best in. It's like, that's good enough for me. Like the last place, if you're scratching and clawing to get in, you're gonna be scratching and clawing. You're gonna be sliding out just as quickly as you slid in.
No matter where you are. Hey, look, before the playoff system, where there are humans involved, which if you've been a college football fan for a long time, there was a computer that literally broke things down to 100th of a decimal point on all these different categories, and everybody complained about it, saying, well, there's not enough human element involved to just look at the situation and say, well, these are the best 4 teams and those are the ones who should go in. And now we have a human element and everybody's like, well, you're clearly not watching college football. you just can't make anybody happy here.
I think they listen to Gator Twitter, because that's how it is on Gator Twitter right now. You're never going to win. Boys and girls, 800 people in here, an hour and a half in, which is absolutely insane. You're still listening to us yell at one another. Is fantastic. Maybe we get to 400 likes before the show ends. We've got our pick'ems here, brought to you by MyBookie. If you guys want to gamble, be degenerates like the rest of us, and lose money every Saturday, like myself, be sure to go to mybookie.ag and use code HIGHTOP to get a little special discount, a little extra cheddar when you do sign up. And again, gamble away with us. Sign up now. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. You got championship weekend on the line. If there's a better time to bet, it's going to be now. So, boys and girls, moving on to our final week of the pick'ems, which Steve has, I think, ran away with. I might do something here, which every game is worth 2 points. We'll see. I don't know. I got to figure out how to make a comeback here. First order of business, I'll go first. Cards versus Louisville. We already know where I'm headed. I'm not even going to take a stench to talk about it. Cards by a million. Let's go. Dave?
It's really tough because Louisville's been pretty good quarterback-wise. Their running back, they got one hell of a running back. He's really, really good. Watch their game against Miami. Miami looked like at sometimes Miami could have beaten them with TBD.
Yep.
Florida State's got a really, really good front seven. And, God, I hate to do it. I'm going to pick Florida State, man.
You're a piece of shit. Maybe that works. Maybe that'll work for us.
Maybe. Look, I'm going to say FSU wins by 1 and Louisville covers.
I got to catch up, man.
You're a little bitch, Steve. I knew you were gonna pull some pansy ass shit. You are a little. You just gave me this whole spiel. I'm ready to run through a fucking wall.
Look, and FSU wins by 1. Tate shows you that he can be a quarterback. We win by 1 point. I don't care.
Hey, and he's a good TikTok dancer.
He is a hell of a TikTok dancer. If anybody hasn't seen, if that's not on Tweets of the Week, that kid is still. He's still dancing.
If this doesn't show you how much of a joke the Big Ten is, the fact that a 10-2 Iowa team is a 22-point underdog in the championship game, I don't know what else we're here. What else we're doing here? For the fact that if everyone looks at this game and goes, "Yeah, the Big Ten's a joke," yet they still have Ohio State in front of Texas and Alabama, the whole thing's a joke. The whole system is broken. Ohio State, after that loss, should have just fell out of the whole thing, just slid all the way down. You didn't play anybody all year. The first time you play somebody, you didn't get clapped. Maybe not all the way down, but behind Mizzou. Put them behind Mizzou, and I'll be okay. Iowa versus Michigan, America's team. Dave, what do you got?
Oh, man, I don't know. Iowa's defense is pretty good. Their offense sucks. They're giving them 22 points, though, and Michigan doesn't really score a lot of points. Their defense is pretty good, too. That is a
toughie.
God, you know what? I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to pick Iowa with the 22 points.
Not a bad pick. Steve?
I don't think they win, but
Yeah, 22 points is a lot in a championship game. Michigan knows that they don't have to really show their hand a whole lot. So I think Iowa's defense will keep it close enough in order to keep it within the 22. But my God, what an awful, awful matchup.
I sweated the Iowa versus Nebraska game on Thanksgiving week, and I had $50 on Iowa. And Dave was cussing too because he picked Nebraska to win. Iowa's quarterback, I swear to goodness, was on my couch Thursday eating Thanksgiving dinner. Like that's why it's like your lost uncle who kind of like rolls in big t-shirts. Like, yeah, back in my day. Like that's the quarterback for Iowa. Like how the guy plays quarterback is you don't have anybody that just has an athletic bone in their body that can sling the football 10 yards. Besides that guy, it's nuts. The offense is so atrocious that I don't care how great their defense is. Blake Corum will just run the ball until the defense just gives out because they're going to throw 19 picks. It's going to be 55-0. It's going to be a bloodbath. Give me America's team by 1,000,000.
Yeah, that Nebraska game irritated the hell out of me because that quarterback, well, they got the pick, and then the quarterback threw the pick right back, and then they kicked the field goal to win.
And the only reason why they scored is because they finally got into enemy territory because they picked it off over the 50. Outside of that, they couldn't get the ball past the 50. Iowa will not get the ball past the 50. And they may keep it close for the first quarter, but Michigan will eventually 22 is easy, bro. They'll have a pick 6 in there. They're 7-0. They're going to score a touchdown. There's 14-0. You're trying to tell me they're not going to get 22? Stop it. You can't change your pick.
I got to take risks right now, man. I'm behind.
Good in Alabama. Big one here, boys. In Atlanta. Steve, you're up first. Georgia favored by 5.5.
Look, I think Georgia wins the game. Let's not forget that Bama struggled to beat USF, and they needed somehow that Iron Bowl just turns into one hell of a last second play. I'm going to go with Georgia to win, but I, in my heart, want Bama to win just for the chaos.
So who are you picking?
I'm taking Georgia.
Oh,
I'm taking Georgia, but I want Bama to win just so we can all get on here and just talk about the shit show it created.
Yeah, well, Georgia, if you don't remember, needed a last second score to beat Auburn as well. So,
true. Real quick, Austin, not a take, bud. Hey, that's not the flex that you think it is. Okay, not a take.
I'm telling you this right now. If I'm New Mexico State, I'm like, hell, we can beat Georgia and Alabama. Bring them. We got them. Just like UCF, maybe. Just like UCF. Let's see. I'm gonna go with Bama because to hell with fucking Georgia.
This is a tough one. This is a tough one here. I like a 3-point spread. I don't know. I'm taking Georgia. Taking Georgia to cover. It's a weird one for me.
Yeah, that one's tough. I think that's just two really good teams, and it's difficult. Look, the other thing is Saban has a really good track record against guys that coached for him before. And even though Georgia's been the more dominant team over the last couple of years, still head-to-head, Saban has owned Kirby.
Saban hasn't lost.
The national champion.
Saban hasn't lost in 26 times when going to Atlanta, by the way. He's 26-0 going to Atlanta.
With all bias aside, I think Saban wants this game and he needs to win it. And I think he knows that. That's why I'm picking Alabama.
Look, I agree. It's a good pick. Tulane versus the Stangs. This is a weird one for me. I mean, who watched SMU football outside of it being on my quad box every 3 weeks? Same thing with Tulane. I think I watched them against Ole Miss, and that was about it. So I'm just going to go with the Tulane that I remember from last year because I honestly don't know on this one.
I picked against them last week. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't pick against them this week. I'll go ahead and go Tulane too.
Is this game televised? Golly. I'll go Green Wave. No, I'll go Stangs. I'll give you guys a shot in the dark. Whatever. I have no effing clue, to be completely honest with you.
Dave, Horns or Oklahoma State?
-15. Oklahoma State. Texas usually loses games they shouldn't lose because they're stupid and they recruit really well and then can't win them. I'll go Oklahoma State.
Steven?
Isn't that Holly's mom's Beaver team?
That's
Oregon State.
God, Oregon State. Oh yeah. I get them all.
Oklahoma's the Cowboys.
I get them mixed up.
I'm going to go with Oklahoma State as well. Gundy seems to have a chip on his shoulder about breaking up with the Big Ten or the Big 12. I think he just wants to go out there and just kick their ass on his last hurrah.
Who am I picking?
You're going to go with the Horns. You've been a Horns guy as long as, I don't know, Sarkisian's been there maybe.
No, before that, always. Hey, McConaughey Horns, baby. They got to kick ass. They got to do this with Flash if they want to have an argument to get in. If for anything, things don't fall their way. So this game is going to be the most important game that they can possibly have. I picked against them against Texas Tech, which is crazy. I thought it'd be a little bit more competitive. It was like 51-7. It was a blowout. So they think they're finding the rhythm. Quinn Ewers is back. Even Arch Manning got some time in. So they're humming out there in old Texas. So I'm loving it. Steve, Ducks favored by 9 to a team they lost to this year, the only team they lost to this year in Washington. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with the Ducks. I think they were the best teams in football, and I think just sort of a couple of coaching, just weird snafus that they made against Washington in Washington. I think they win that game. I think what the retribution and revenge is going to go a long ways in this one. Oregon needs to win that game big.
We're all taking Oregon, right? Nobody's picking Washington here.
What do you do? No, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, bro, there's this. Washington is not.
Washington's been a little shaky lately, so yeah.
Or Oregon's gonna kick ass and take names. Liberty versus New Mexico. This is a weird one for me too. Like, who's watching Liberty, New Mexico? But New Mexico's riding the high off of beating was it Auburn? And I like the 11 points. I like that. I think it might be like a 7-point game, one way or the other, maybe even a 3-point game. I think 11's a lot. I think it's a little hefty. I know Liberty's undefeated, but New Mexico State just beat Auburn. They got that confidence.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick New Mexico State as well because I mean, if you can beat Auburn, you can beat Liberty. So I believe in them.
Stevie?
Liberty is a crazy conservative college. I'm going to say that they've got the Jeebus on their side, so I'm going to go with Liberty to give you guys a shot. Liberty.
There it is, boys. There is our final pick'em of the week there. Go ahead.
I was about to say, Holly's in such big of a lead, doesn't even really matter.
Yeah, he's just having fun here. All right, last segment, boys and girls, is Tweets of the Week. Of course, here we go. First order of business is freezing cold takes. Booger from ESPN tweeted out 6:55 p.m. Now, that was right before the Auburn Bama game was about to go down. It says Bama is about to go down. Get to CBS now, which we all know how that happened. That 4th and a million, old Jalen Milroe into the corner, touchdown.
That made me feel a little bit better about 4th and 7 because it was 4th and 31. So I feel a little bit better, but not much.
A little bit, yeah. Freezing cold take for sure. That one's. I mean, look, he wasn't wrong. I think everyone felt that way. This is my favorite tweet of all time. This guy right here, this classic douchebag is what we call him. It's some fans are weird. Like I have to learn. Like you can't try to figure out what's going through their process. But he is for the kind of context here, massive hater on Billy. Like constantly is just dragging him and what's happening in his process. Shout out to Nick D'Amigo.
TV Gator? Who is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably one of Holly's friends. Nick D'Amigo found the tweet from 12/5/21, 2021, and it says there's no bigger Billy Napier fan than me. Doesn't exist. Can't find him. Now, obviously, as you can see, I have my account muted. So let's see what he said. Oh, he tweeted out just 3 days ago, once again, Billy is worse than Muschamp, McElwain, and Mullen. It's not even close. This guy hit him with this retweet. And I tagged Dave and said, hey, you know what to do. Because Dave and I found ourselves in unnecessary battles with this twat muffin. So I thought this was one hell of a response. I always wish I could have had, a receipt book of Twitter feeds. I'm just not organized. You guys see my tabs. There's no way.
Yeah. Well, the dude lives in New York, so I understand why he's angry all the time.
Fair enough. That was good. That was fun. This one here, our boy at Gator Nation Football broke down the double reverse, and this person drew his lines of what he felt the double reverse went. Sorry to revert to middle school on this one, James, but in retrospect, it's clear how he got effed, and he he circled the guys here and drew. That is very true, though. Look at this. Look at this. But this is where it frustrates me.
The worst part is I was like trying to like squint because you were keeping the other screen small, and then I saw like I get real close, and then you pop it and it's big, and it's like right in the head.
You're used to that though.
No. How do you draw that play up, man?
What's the plan here? Is it supposed to be a screen? Like who's open? Like the unreal. Just all 11 guys just hanging out. Just
I guess you got to throw your balls when you're in a pickle.
I mean, what a drawing though. Phenomenal penis there. I think that's fantastic. He nailed it on the head with that one.
Is he aware of this? Because I mean, he does a lot. Like he does a lot of like drawing on the screen. Is he aware that he just got dicked?
I hope so. This here, a Devil Dog made a thing for Steve after they won.
They begged me for this one. They were like, "You got to put it on there."
Oh boy.
There once was a man Holly with an enormous forehead is so jolly. His hair good and wide high, the expanse that is stretched far and wide. Oh, Mr. Holly with a forehead so grand, your big smile lights up the land. From ear to ear, it gleams so white as we sing and dance by your joyful side.
I think what makes this even better is the fact that that's a clip from us just talking, and it looks like you're actually listening to us.
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I even told him, I'm like, the fact that you make it seem like I'm a part of the song as you're, it's just too good. Like that was amazing.
Spot on. This is the greatest tweet of all time. I mean, we were talking about at the beginning of the show. Blue Orange Gator never misses. We actually had him before the show. So the rumors came out that Shamar and a couple other guys are leaving, and then Shamar James tweeted out, "Don't listen to the rumors," and kind of settled the noise a little bit. So then Blue Orange Gator tweets out Shamar on the timeline like this.
Hey, what's going on here? What are you doing? Kookaburra fight. Now stop it. You guys need to make up. You be friends now.
Oh my God, I'm crying. It's the timing. It's just the delivery. Like, I don't know how to explain it, because literally this is what happened. We're all screaming at one another. Gator Twitter is just going nuts. And then Shamar hits the, "Hey, don't believe everything you see." And then everyone's like, still kind of trying to figure out if it's, dude, perfect. Gold. Absolutely wonderful.
He's so quick with it too. Like, you gotta have a really hilarious mind for that. And I appreciate very hilarious minds. Like, I love him. That's why I love Blue Orange Gator. He's funny.
So this one here, I actually fell for it. There has been a bunch of troll 247 and On 3 accounts just tweeting nonsense, and it got me. I took the bait on it. What is this one?
It's just like a QAnon 3. It's just because they keep making fake accounts, so they just
I get it.
The QAnon 3.
So QAnon is it's a website that people go to about conspiracy theories and all kinds of weird political background like noise. So it's a Q&A in On 3. QAnon.
Dude, deep. Buddy's got layers to his jokes. Layers to his jokes.
That's deep. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
He made it twice.
Huh?
Let's be honest. He could probably make a whole reel off our tweets of the week if he wanted to.
Literally, he could just own the segment. Oh, he's
Right.
a very negative Gator though, so I try not. Sometimes I get a little like, all right, dude, like chill out. Like, he hates Billy, like whoever he is. But he killed me with the Shamar James one, bro. It broke me.
That was too good.
What I like about him is, like, he'll get mad and he'll make like some statuses, and then like Billy will do something good and he's like, "Billy's the best coach ever." I'll go back on what I just said.
Yeah, same. I feel the same way. Boys, an hour and a half in, over 600 people in here is absolutely insane. One of the biggest shows I think we've had in a very long time. Monday was nuts too, but this one was a fantastic show. Incredible lineup. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, if you did, smash the like button and subscribe. We go live every Wednesday. If this is your first time here, we do the same nonsense every week, live at 8:35. So we're on the way to 19,000 subs. We're like 8.5, pretty damn close to it. So trying to get to 20K by the end of the year. Big goal, but we got 30 days for a little over 1,000 subs. Would be one hell of a feat, thinking at the beginning of this year we just eclipsed 10,000, and within 12 months we are sitting at 20. It's kind of crazy to think about and to process and to sit on, but it's much appreciated. And never want to get too big and always want to stay kind of humble and cool about it, because it's much appreciated. And at any given moment, this could all go collapsing and crashing down on us. So we appreciate you guys always coming in and hanging out with us, good, bad, or ugly, and chit-chatting with us. Again, go make sure you guys go give Cam Jackson, Nick Delatorre a follow. Those are two incredible gentlemen there. An absolute blast, and thank you again to them for hopping on here. We don't really have any shows lined up for this week like we normally do with the season being over, but I would imagine, with all the news that has been dropping on a daily basis, that we're probably going to be having something happen. It's just going to be when we're ready. So turn the bell on for this week, especially because I know sometimes we can get a little over the top with our post, because you don't want to miss it in case we do go live or have a vent session of what is happening. But you guys be good. Gentlemen, I appreciate you too as well for always hopping on here. Love you guys. You guys have a great Wednesday. Until next time, I'm Shelton.
And I'm Holly.
And I do support the movie.
Boogity, 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 boys. You guys be good. I love you.